Hello, welcome back to A Man in a Sea of Lies. This was gonna be painful. Uh, Often I think that it's our misguided empathy guilt that drives our Canadian politics. Now, I don't mean that our politicians are guilty of this. Quite the opposite. I think they cynically exploit our collective guilt. At times, it seems that this strange phenomenon touches most of our political choices. Look at our immigration policy, for example. Well, I think we have a responsibility to help genuine refugees. I think we should be more selective about bringing people who we bring here as regular immigrants. Well, I don't think we should totally disregard our empathy here. I don't think we can bring in billions of less fortunate people just because it's the right thing to do, because it's just physically impossible. So we should be a touch more self serving here and think about our future as a nation when we craft our immigration policy. Another example of our misguided empathy guilt is our foreign aid. We spend about 12 billion on foreign aid annually. A big chunk of the money goes to often corrupted local officials and businesses, and a large slice goes to officials and activists who design our aid programs and distribute the cash here in Canada. Effectively, very little trickles down to the people who really need the help. We know about this because scandals do erupt from time to time when occasionally some media outlets stumble on this. But few people are held accountable, and once these programs are established, they usually continue to grow. Yet we continue to spend a lot of money on this because of our guilt. There's also an element of virtue signaling here and feeling good about ourselves, of course. Another good example is our relationship with our indigenous people. We are extra guilty about that, and maybe to a point, rightly so. I'm not sure why new generations of Canadians and recent immigrants should feel guilty about our sins from generations ago. We certainly should do everything to help our Indigenous people because our ancestors turned their lives upside down. I understand that. But our guilt often leads to absurdities. The money just flows unchecked. There is little accountability from anyone. And of course, we created a huge bureaucracy in Ottawa to administer the spending and in order to create political appointments for party cronies and activists. In effect, huge amounts of taxpayers' money are changing hands with poor results. We create dependency, and little money trickles down to the people who really need it. So these are just three examples of our guilt driving policy decisions. When you pause for long enough, when you look around, it's obvious that this obsessive, misguided empathy guilt is everywhere. Together with our fear, they drive our politics through an emotional roller coaster. We try to wash that guilt away by throwing money at the assumed victims. But in essence, we do it for ourselves to make ourselves feel better. We boost our egos, self esteem, and we virtue signal, of course, not to mention pat ourselves on the back all the time. It seems to be a very popular activity here in Canada. Unfortunately, our cynical politicians are milking it for all it's worth. Our federal government transfers almost $300 billion to individuals, organizations, and other governments here annually. We spend over 100 billion in so-called social protection. Of course, the biggest chunk of that money disappears in the process, and little of it reaches the people who really need it. That's what I've got for you for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, and so long.